Hey, I know you're thinking, wow, why the fuck did I click on this video? This guy looks absolutely disgusting. Yeah. But, let's watch the video. No.
He is one of the most infamous serial killers in modern history. Jeffrey Dahmer, necrophiliac and cannibal, murdered 17 men and boys over the course of 13 years. But what was going on in the mind of this monster? Are killers born evil, or do they become evil over time?
My name is Dr. Eric Hickey.
What the fuck?
I'm a criminal psychologist.
Where did that come from?
My areas of expertise are homicide, sex crime, and psychopathology. I work on the dark side, pretty much.
Dr. Hickey has an unusual connection to the Dahmer case that no other criminal psychologist has.
I became involved with the Dahmer case many years ago. I happened to be in a store. I saw a man who looked unusual. So I just walked over to him and started talking to him. And he said he was from Chicago. I said, what brings you to California? And he said, my mom tried to kill herself. And I came out to help her. I said, I know who you are. You're Jeffrey Dahmer's brother, aren't you? So we became friends. I met his mother and interviewed her. And oh my gosh, that just led to so many other things because of that.
How would you know that? Yeah, my mom tried to kill herself. Jeffrey Dahmer's brother. Oh, okay. What?
That moment in the store, it led to a whole nother avenue of investigation.
Let's start from the beginning. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960 to Lionel Dahmer and Joyce Annette Rocky Dahmer. As a child, Dahmer was often isolated. Both of his parents struggled with depression and fought constantly throughout their marriage.
So Jeffrey had a difficult childhood. There was problems in the home between the husband and wife.
It's always how it is.
Family. He didn't have the attachment that most people have growing up. And
yeah, I mean, you're kind of right. Can we, like, these glasses, man, these have, like, solidified themselves as creepy serial killer glasses. Do people still wear these? Like, if anyone is ever wearing these in public, why? What are you doing? Like, you literally, like, people are just going to assume that you've murdered people. You know what I mean? It's even worse if you have, like, if you're balding. If you're balding, oh, Lord. Don't even get me started. I have those glasses. Have you killed people?
And he felt alone.
Self-reported.
He comes home, I think when he was 17, his mother was gone. She took David, the son, younger son, and left. And that really was traumatizing for him.
What the fuck?
The young Dahmer was painfully shy and withdrawn. He also displayed an interest in dead animals, dissecting carcasses and collecting chicken bones and bleaching them.
Very normal thing that people do.
He stated that this process excited him. This is not uncommon with any child that experiences trauma, and it's certainly a common trait among many serial killers.
When we talk about animal abuse, setting fires, these are results of childhood trauma, lack of attachment. Children can't express themselves. They can't tell you what's really bothering them, so they'll often set fires or hurt animals. That's their voice. This is a cry for help.
Ah, yes, I do that. Yes. Get help.
Or talk about.
Oh, what are you doing over there? You know, just taking some chicken bones, bleaching them. Oh. Yeah, the process excites me immensely. Oh, okay, that's cool. See you later. Like, I mean, no one ever was just like, that does not seem normal.
Is the fantasies that fuel the fire.
To be fair, there's many times that, at least from what I've heard and read, many times that Jeffrey Dahmer was almost caught. And it was a classic case of cops white guy, blonde hair, blue eyes. They just didn't care.
His trauma and fascination with dead animals began to interact with his blossoming sexuality. He became obsessed with having control and power. It was also around this time that he realized he was gay, which made him feel ashamed and confused.
He really was very conflicted as well. He was lonely, conflicted, had lack of attachment. All these things kind of set the groundwork for where he would go. It's a very interesting process because it wasn't one day he just woke up and said, I'm going to be a killer. I mean, he built into that over the period of several years. As you recall, in this case, he had fantasies about killing a young man. Over time, fantasies become behavior.
Started having obsessive...
Yeah, I'll watch that after, Amy.
Thoughts of violence intermingled with sex. And it just got worse and worse. I didn't know how to tell anyone about it, so I didn't. I just kept it all inside.
He had a desire to be with
someone. See what homophobia does to him? Yeah. When people are raised, dude, it still happens constantly today when people are raised, you know, to believe that homosexuality is a sin and is terrible and you shouldn't be that. And then some of those people who are brainwashed to believe that that's the case grow up to find out that they're homosexual and then just be conflicted. And then, you know, that's just like a whole other mental issue. Like people who are like fighting it and shit. Ugh, man.
Who had been buried. So in paraphilic terms, he had this sexual fantasy about being with someone who was unconscious.
Merriam-Webster defines paraphilia as a pattern of recurring sexually arousing mental imagery or behavior that involves unusual and especially socially unacceptable sexual practices.
Now, there's different kinds of paraphilia, right? There's the non-criminal paraphilia. People get into latex, they get into plushies and furries, things like that.
Did we just confirm that Jeffrey Dahmer was a furry?
We do know by the time that young men reach the age of 18, and 99% of them have masturbated themselves into oblivion. We know that for a fact. Okay? I'm always...
What? Why did he say it like that? Yo, why did he say it like... What the fuck? You know, anyone who's reached 18 has masturbated themselves into oblivion. But this is actually, he's got a point though. Like, you know, religion, for example, says that masturbation is a sin. And if you have that teenage pent up hormones throughout your life without relieving yourself, yeah, that's not good. That's not healthy.
I've been concerned about that 1% who didn't. What happened to them? Are they lying? What happened? About 10% of American males are involved with different forms of paraphilia. 4 of those 10 men are actually into criminal paraphilia. I mean, about half of those then get into the very, very violent types of criminal paraphilia.
In high school, Dahmer began drinking heavily to cope with his dark
Or
fantasies.
asexuals? Good point.
He was known to play pranks and
Good point.
fake epileptic fits. By the time he was 16, he began...
But yeah, I'm more talking about like the, you know, the people who believe that that's sinful and shit. Did you ever do any of this? Oh, all of this. Everything that Dahmer has done lines up perfectly with me and my personality.
and fantasizing about what it would be like to have sex with a dead body.
Jeffrey had a lot of fantasies. He didn't share those fantasies. Over time, fantasies become behavior. So nobody wakes up in the morning as a necrophile. It's a process of becoming. People get into these fantasies and the fantasies develop. We're all sexual beings. We all have to find ways to be sexual. But there are groups of people in our society who are not comfortable in their own skin. They're not comfortable talking to other people. Now, there's a reason why he was more comfortable with dead people.
Hey, guys. I'll wait. Hey, guys. If you don't want ads, tell them, Shadow. Tell them. Then become a member. and become a member. Right? That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do, smile.
People, because he lacked the skill set to be intimate. In such low self-esteem, he was so insecure in his own life that eventually he became more comfortable with people who then who would not reject him. They were dead.
It was only a matter of time before Dahmer enacted one of his fantasies. In June 1978, 3 weeks after high school graduation, Dahmer picked up hitchhiker Stephen Hicks and brought him back to his father's house. The two shared a few drinks, but when Hicks tried to leave, Dahmer bludgeoned him with a barbell. Dahmer proceeded to have sex with the body before dismembering and disposing of it.
When Jeffrey killed Stephen Hicks, it was, I'm sure, a great relief for him. He finally got to act out his fantasies. He already knew how he was going to do it.
I don't really... I hate that. It was a great relief for him. Ugh.
He had planned out in fantasy first, and so he knew that this was the right time and moment to grab him, lure him in, and kill him. And now he gets to be with the body, and finally, that was his level of intimacy. He gets to be intimate with the body, which most of us take for granted in normal relationships. But now this person is dead. They're not
Yo,
gonna
thank
reject
you,
him.
Danny
They're
DeCebo,
not gonna laugh at
for
him.
gifting.
They're not going to make him feel insecure. He gets to do what he wants to do. And I think that really set the stage for later on in his life as he fantasized.
After high school, Dahmer joined the army but was
Hate to be that person, but it's too bad he couldn't see how handsome he was and how such low self-esteem.
Michigan.
It's very bad timing for this picture. Very bad timing.
discharged in 1981. Then, Dahmer moved in with his grandmother and worked the graveyard shift at a local chocolate company. Dahmer wouldn't kill again for almost 10 years. How is it possible that someone like him is able to control his urges? Did he find other ways to satisfy himself?
So that's when I went to meet Jeffrey Dahmer's mother.
So how did he get away for 10 years, though?
That was a really interesting interview that we had. And so I know that Dahmer had been doing something bad during all those years when he hadn't been killing. And she said, well, he did tell me, because at his trial, it didn't come out. But I'll tell you now, in confidence, what he told me. And I'm going to quote her. She said, you know, he would look at young men who've been killed in a car accident, they died of illnesses. He would go to the viewings. Then he would go to the funerals. Then he would go to the cemeteries where they were buried. And at night, he would dig them up to have sex with them.
Oh! 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 I didn't know about that. I didn't know about the digging up part. Holy shit, man. How down bad do you have to be? Like, he is the epitome of down bad. Holy shit, man. How? How? Unsanitary? I think that's the lowest word to use in this situation. What the fuck? Dude, I'm deleting, I'm shutting down Nightbot. Someone literally posted emotes and Nightbot said, fuck you. All right. I'm taking Nightbot down. He's pissing me off, man. Okay.
Those are his words to me. That kept him occupied for several years. So he kept the fantasies going and actually acting out. How many he had sex with, I don't know. She doesn't know. She didn't know. But certainly the whole fantasy.
Did his mom knew about it, but did she not ever be like, maybe we should get my son some help? I don't think having sex with dead bodies is like a good thing, you know?
Fantasy development about being with someone who'd been buried was really, really important to him.
But grave robbing couldn't satisfy his urges for long. He even owned a mannequin at one point, but it wasn't the same thing. In 1987, Dahmer's killing career would resume, and he would take the lives of 16 additional men and boys. Often, he'd pick them up at gay bars, bathhouses, and porn shops, and take them back to his apartment for a drink.
He was very low profile. You just meet people. He's very friendly. Yeah, invite them to his home. Sure, come over, have a drink. And then he would spike the drink, and they'd become unconscious. In the beginning, it wasn't that way. The men went to his home. They stayed with him for a few days. He didn't kill them immediately. It's when they said they had to leave, that's when he knew he had to kill them, because he couldn't allow them to abandon him, to reject him.
Many of Dahmer's
Jesus
victims
Christ.
shared a similar profile. They were mostly men of color.
I don't think having sex with dead bodies is like a good thing. How could you say something so brave yet so controversial? Police helped him? Pretty much. Yeah, wait, wasn't there a case, like a situation where cops literally took someone back to him? Someone who actually escaped from dying from him, from getting killed from him, and the cops took him back, right?
Who were in peak physical condition, or in Dahmer's words, had a Chippendale body type.
I think he deliberately selected men in places that...
It was a
he thought people
14-year-old
would not
boy. Oh
miss.
my God.
And there may have been this piece, I'm speculating on this. They chose men of color because he wasn't a man of color. And that way he wouldn't be a suspect. Because if these men of color were disappearing, they'd be looking for someone else, a man of color, who might be doing it. And he certainly didn't fit that description.
He's literally using the cops' racism against them, dude. Oh my God. He's legitimately using their racism against them. Oh my God.
Once his
Versace
victim
Poop
was
cape, true.
unconscious, Dahmer would strangle them, then proceed to have sex with the body. But because Dahmer engaged in these activities within the confines of his apartment, he had the freedom to explore other sexual desires as well. He would dismember the bodies, sleep next to the corpses, and cut holes in the torso to use it for sex. He decapitated and castrated his victims, would clean the flesh off their bones and collect the skulls. He drilled holes into his victims' heads in an attempt to turn them into zombies.
So a great question is, how does a person desensitize themselves to...
I didn't know about the... Ew. Ew. Oh.
the point where they can actually kill people and have sex with them after they're dead? Why would somebody want to do this? Well, their need is so great to be with somebody, even if they're dead. At least it is a form of intimacy. Yeah, think about that. It's a pretty dark place to be in your life. But people are there. There are people who do this, and I've interviewed them.
In a huge escalation of his behavior, he also began to eat the flesh of his victims.
So there's different forms of cannibalism, and some is not sexual. We know there have been Indian tribes and so forth, they have eaten their victims, but it wasn't sexualized. We know in some cases, as in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, there was a sexual component to it. Now, there is the blood part, where he sampled the blood. So blood itself is a type of paraphilia. I'm sure he tasted it. And from there, it was very easy to then taste the flesh. And of course, you know, terrible thing to say, but tastes like chicken. I mean, it was something that they explored. And so when he...
How do you know this? How do you know this? How do you know what human flesh tastes like? Hello? Dude, I'm starting to get sus of this man right now.
realized it didn't taste bad, then he kept advancing in that and doing more of that. So Jeffrey ate penises. I mean, he ate internal organs, and he was, in some ways, I guess, socializing.
Why did you have to lead? Why did you have to lead with that? Lead with something like, oh, he ate their liver, or he ate their, I don't know, their lung. Why did you have to start with, he ate penises? You know, he ate them, he cooked them up, chopped them up like a sausage. He ate them. The fuck? Okay, I kind of pushed it further than what he did. Man.
If you will, he was exploring their bodies, and he had some favorite victims, people he preferred. Physically, they were becoming part of him. He drank their blood, they were part of him, and now he eats their flesh. It was all part of this, I need to feel powerful. I need to feel I'm normal.
All of this was working towards one grandiose plan that Jeffrey Dahmer had in his mind. A fantasy that would eclipse everything before it.
So this drawing by Jeffrey Dahmer details his...
All right, let's see this. Wall plaque. Lamp with blue globe lights. Blue curtains. Painted skulls. Black table. I guess he... Why did you... I don't know why he marked out black. Incense. Black chair. Painted skeletons. I don't know what that says.
Fantasies. On this end of the table, he had one fully articulated skeleton. On the other end, another one was in the bathroom, that he was still taking the flesh off the bones. And then all these heads on this table behind him. He says, I could sit in this black chair, surrounded by my friends, my best friends, and they could never leave me because they were physically part of me.
Dear God, that is so like, wow. You're taking SpongeBob's indoor song to a whole new level, man. To a whole new level. SpongeBob just used a napkin, a chip, and a penny. Why didn't you do that?
And emotionally, they were part of me. He said, when I could sit in that chair, he said, I would finally feel powerful. Those are his words. I would feel powerful. But the truth is, you never feel comfortable in your own skin.
Jeffrey Dahmer was almost caught several times. One of his victims, Conorak Synthesymphone, even escaped at first and was found by police in the middle of the night. However, Dahmer managed to convince officers that they were lovers, and the police let Dahmer go.
Huh? What? That's the 14-year-old? What? They're 14 and he convinced them that they're lovers? What? Huh? What? Dude, how do you even live with yourself as those cops? How do you live with yourself? How? How? Tell me how. How? Please tell me how. How? How do you live with yourself? How? You think that goes beyond down bad? I would agree.
He had practice, and the more practice he did, the easier it became, and there was no turning back. There was escalation, absolutely, which would eventually, he knew intellectually that an end was coming. Absolutely, he knew.
Just before midnight on July 22nd, 1991, a would-be victim of Dahmer's, Tracy Edwards, escaped from Dahmer's apartment where he had been captive, with handcuffs dangling from one arm. He alerted police, who accompanied him back to Dahmer's apartment.
Twice.
When they went to his house, we had body parts cooking on the stove. I mean, he had all kinds of, he had them body parts in drawers. And then you can imagine the stench going to that apartment. You can imagine the two police officers who walked into that apartment and realized that Jeffery was standing behind them. And they were looking at these body parts. I would love to have interviewed them. What they must have thought. Wait a minute, look at all these heads and the guys behind us. But Jeffery knew it was over. I mean, he could have killed them. But he wasn't. He knew the end was coming. When the police arrived, he knew he was going to give it up. There was no struggle from him at all. Yeah, you got me.
Dr. Hickey recalls the first thing Jeffrey Dahmer's mother told him when they met.
Right, where's the neighbors? There was that one lady, I remember it was like, I forget what I watched, some documentary where there's a lady that said that she literally ate food that he gave her. So like she literally said, yeah, I probably have eaten human. And apparently she's called on him multiple times. It's just because Dahmer lived in like a black neighborhood. So if anytime he got complaints, he's a white dude in a black neighborhood. So they're not going to do anything. That's literally what it was. The cops didn't care.
Never tried to hurt anybody. He killed them, but he never tried to hurt them, which was absolutely true. Every necrophile I've ever interviewed or researched, none of them ever try to hurt the victims. They just kill them. I'd say 95% of them are not sadistic because they want the corpse to be with the corpse. I interviewed a guy,
Go racist.
Larry Hall.
Larry Hall was a convicted serial killer who confessed to the murders of 35 women and young girls.
Huh?
And Larry was a necrophilic killer. I said, so Larry, when you had the victims down on the ground and you strangled them from behind, did you ever look to see their faces? Or when you had them up against a tree in the woods and you were strangling them, did you ever look at their faces? He says, no, why would I do that? Because he wasn't interested in their suffering. He just needed them to be dead. So Jeffrey Dahmer never intended to hurt his victims, ever. If you look...
Oh, they didn't hurt them. They just killed them, aka hurt them very badly at least once. I get what he's saying, though, because there's some sadistic people that, like, enjoy the torture. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people who make people suffer, but Dahmer, I guess, tried to kill him quickly.
Look at some of his interviews. He talked about how pathetic his life was. What a waste his life was.
Yeah, I think he just had a bad choice of words. If he said torture instead of hurt, then that would make more sense. But yeah, I think that's what he's trying to say.
Sadism. What he wanted was to be with somebody, and so killing them was the process of getting to be with somebody.
Soon after his arrest, Jeffrey Dahmer confessed to the murders. The case went to trial in early 1992, where a parade of psychiatrists took the stand in Dahmer's case, diagnosing him with paraphilia, borderline personality, schizotypal disorder, and sexual sadism. But was Jeffrey Dahmer a psychopath?
Jeffrey Dahmer was definitely not a psychopath. Not even close. Because every necrophile I've interviewed or researched, none of them are true psychopaths.
That's interesting.
So
that's pretty interesting. Because I think psychopaths are people who literally just kill without, you know, reason. There's not really a reason for them to kill them. They just want people to die, basically. But the thing is, in their minds, not torturing them, that means not hurting them. Yeah, technically.
Jeffrey was a sociopath. And the difference, there's quite a big distinction. And I train law enforcement to understand these distinctions. A true psychopath is someone usually who's very sadistic. They have no empathy. They manipulate, they control people. And certainly we see some of that with sociopaths. But sociopaths are very emotional. They still love their moms. They still have emotional attachments.
So is it possible then that Jeffrey Dahmer felt guilty for the crimes he had committed?
Jeffrey never
He
felt
literally put
badly
acid in the 14-year-old's brain. What does that mean, no torture in boiling water? Probably after he was dead. You know? I feel like that's probably after he was dead. I don't really see how he would have put acid on his brain while he was still alive. Or put his brain in boiling water. No, not dead? Really? So he killed him by putting acid on his brain? He was still alive? He wanted to make a living zombie? Oh, is that the one where he made a hole in his head? Then how was he still alive? He was still alive. Holy shit. Okay, well that's stupid. Then this guy has no credibility whatsoever. So this doctor has no credibility whatsoever then. If the kid was still alive and he drilled a hole in his head and put acid on his brain, I think, bro, I don't know, man. I think it's pretty torturous. I didn't know about that. The brain feels no pain. Yeah, but his head does. You know, when he had a hole drilled in it, pretty sure you'd feel some pain. Source? Chat. That's my source. That's literally my source is chat. So I don't know. You guys could all just be collectively lying to me, but I don't know.
For the victims. I think he recognized that there was a dead zone within himself. I think most men, I can't speak for women, have a place where we can go where we don't feel badly about anything. We can go there, but most of us don't go there because it's pretty scary to know you can look at someone suffering and you don't feel badly about it. You know, Jeffrey had this dark spot.
I feel like that's not just... I mean, to be fair, I obviously I'm not a woman, so I can't say for women. But I feel like that's only specific personalities or specific people.
Grew and grew and grew, and that's where he lived his life, was in this dark, dark zone. On a personal note, I call that evil. I think Jeffrey became a very evil person. Was he a bad person?
It's too on the nose and stupid, the zombie thing. It literally just said it in this video, that he drilled a hole in someone's head to make him a zombie. Which, I wouldn't put it past him. And it's not, he didn't make him a zombie. He was trying to. Emphasis on trying to.
It's complex.
On November 28th, 1994,
Lobotomies exist. Yeah, that just means you don't feel emotion.
At the Wisconsin prison where he was serving his life sentences.
When I met with his mom, eventually she told me that he finally said to her on a phone call, he said, I don't want to be in prison anymore. But I also know I'm too dangerous to be on the streets. Because he knew if he was back on the streets, he'd probably do it again. And maybe 3 weeks later, he was dead. And I think that when he was attacked, it was probably a relief for him. Dahmer was a big guy. He could have handled himself. The man who attacked him actually killed Dahmer and another man at the same time. I think he had a lead pipe. Dahmer could have fought back, but he didn't. I'm sure he did not fight back. He wanted to die, and this was his way out. I think had he not been killed, that he would eventually taken his own life. Absolutely, he would have killed himself. As he said in his own words, my life was pathetic. I think he wanted to end that pathetic life.
Man, at least he's realistic.
To his family.
He's right about that.
To our nation. I mean, it was just so overwhelming for him. I think that he just knew that what's the point of being alive?
Am I supposed to feel bad for him? No.
Fantasizing about killing people.
No.
So,
see, that's the thing. You could be interested in his mental sanity and interested in the psychology behind it, but you shouldn't feel bad for him. Doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter, because the amount of things he's done is so far beyond anything that you can't really... You could pity in a way, but I don't really consider pity as feeling bad. It's more of like just, man, that sucks. Sucks for you, but hey, kind of your, you know, you shouldn't have done it. I mean, what the fuck?
when we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, was he born a killer or made one?
Can you get off my arm,
So
Shadow?
when we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, we have to talk about nature versus nurture. Actually, nature and nurture. I think that in his case, there was some chemical depression.
No. Oh, God damn it. God damn it, Shadow. Hey, where was I? You bitch. Chat, where was I? I was pretty far in, right?
Certainly, we see some of that with sociopaths. But sociopaths are very... It was probably a relief for him. Knew that what's the point of being alive? I think he'd gotten past fantasizing about killing people.
So, when we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, was he born a killer or made one?
Empathy doesn't equal pity. Come on, guys. What? It kind of does, in a way. To an extent. Depending on what the situation is. Empathy is being able to feel what someone else is feeling in a way. Being able to understand their pain and what they went through type dealio. Fine line between empathy and sympathy. Yeah, sympathy is feeling bad. Empathy is more of you could, understand what they're feeling type deal.
So when we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, we have to talk about nature versus nurture. Actually, nature.
Okay, chat. I'm not smart enough to get into fucking English lesson on sympathy and empathy. All right, I don't care enough, and I don't know enough, so I'm not gonna act like I do.
And nurture. I think that in his case there was some, chemical depression in the family. I think he probably inherited some of that. His father was depressed. His mom was depressed, and I think that helped set the stage for the lack of attachment. Now, keep in mind, we're all different, so we don't all cope with stressors the same way. Some people handle stress better than others, and when we talk about biology and genetics, we have to realize that you inherit things genetically. You might inherit temperament, schizophrenia perhaps, passed on to families. You have to have the nurturing part. So nature kind of loads the gun, and nurturing pulls the trigger. So I think as we go down that pathway,
That's actually a really good analogy.
Understand it's not just one quick simple answer. It is complex, and all the psychiatrists.
I feel like nature, you have the capabilities to do things. Yeah, you have like you're born with like, for example, some people might be born with the capabilities to do these things like Dahmer, for example. But if you don't have that shitty of a childhood or life, then you might not get to that. You know what I mean? The way I was treated, I should have no emotion. True.
Who studied his case would agree that there was multiple things that were involved.
So, was there anything that could have been done to prevent this?
He's a very needy person, and he didn't know how to express himself very well. I mean, it's very sad in some ways because a lot of this could have been avoided had there been early intervention.
Yep.
But he didn't have people to turn to, and he didn't know how to do it. And by the time he could have.
God, I can't imagine how the mom feels.
He was already deep into his fantasy world. Parenting is so important. Most people who have troubles like that don't become murderers. He really made some choices. It wasn't like he was mentally ill. He knew exactly what he was doing. He just allowed himself to go down that pathway because his need to be with people was so great.
The mom tried to kill herself once.
Things along the way, but he made his own decisions. And as he crossed those lines, he got to a point where there was no return. He could never go back. And he became much more comfortable with the idea of being people who were dead. And that, of course, was a game changer for him.
Y'all so quick to judge someone on a short video like we don't even know this guy. What?
Now it's time to walk away. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Did you laugh or cry or maybe subscribed? I'll thank you either way. You know I will miss you. I hope you return. Tell your friend or your mother to get me more views, please.